Uh, Hi everyone, I'm Arav. I'm a student at NTU. I study economics and data science. So I effectively study with social sciences, computing and data science, and physical and mathematical sciences, which I think is a very interesting mixture because it gives me access to so many of these different areas, which gives rise to a curiosity that I feel is being trampled by society today, which is also the subject of some of my research today. So the motivation behind my research was how education has actually evolved over time. So essentially, initially you had books, right? So my parents and my grandparents would go to these huge libraries and they felt this is amazing that I can just go to any library, I can pick up a book and learn as much as I want. And that was revolutionary back then, but when I think about it right now, it feels like such a basic thing because I am a kid of the internet age, wherein I can just go onto the internet and I literally have the world's knowledge at my fingertips. I can just Google anything, I can look up any book, and I can read it whenever I want to. And that's again extremely fascinating tech for sure. But I think the eureka moment for me came in when ChatGPT came out and AI came in. And I was like, there are so many applications for education here, essentially because everything before was many to one, right? Like there was a book written, and then either you understand it or you do not understand it. There's no personalization in a book. It's written the way that the author intended to be. But the interesting thing with AI is that you can actually personalize it to the way that you actually understand it. So you can ask it to explain it to you like you're a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, or in a very different context. And I would do this all the time. I would just go to AI, ChatGPT, and I would ask it to help me with my own lectures. And I felt if it can help me, it can also help other people. And thus, I think it can actually bring the next wave of digital disruptions. When I was just going through this, I noticed an interesting gap in most of the literature on it. There was very little research done on economics and social sciences, as most of the AI research at that time was solely focused on computer science and biology. And being a student of economics, I felt this could be pretty interesting to study and know more about. This led me to my research question. How can prompt engineering with generative AI models help us actually improve knowledge retention among students in the domain of economics and social science? This is a problem that I struggled a lot with my own self, as I would study something in semester 2 and the next semester if you'd ask me, well, what was this? I would not remember anything. And I feel this is a huge loss of knowledge. So I felt, can AI actually help us improve our knowledge retention? To actually research more on this, I took a development route and I developed an AI-driven chatbot that uses Hugging Face embeddings and OpenAI's GPT 3.5 model. So essentially what you could do is you could just enter as many PDFs of your lecture notes as you want, and I use something called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, and you can just ask questions from it, and it's essentially based on Socratic prompting so that it helps you think deeper about whatever you're studying about. And you're actually able to have meaningful questions that question your own understanding about the learning that you have so that it's more meaningful. The methodology for our research was that I picked 10 econ majors anonymously, and essentially they were all just above 18. They could have been of any race, studying economics at the tertiary level. And the technical workflow that I follow is this. I'll try not to make it technical at all. It's a bit straightforward, to be honest. You just input your PDF files onto the platform, and what happens then is that we use embeddings to convert all of these PDF files into a vector store. So the PDFs just get broken down as chunks, and they get stored onto a vector store. And we also keep like a conversation buffer memory so that you can track all of the previous conversations that you have. And then it's very simple that GPT 3.5 just looks at everything that the vector store had. And essentially what the embeddings do is that they make a vector. And what that does is that it's very simple now for us to actually look at how similar the text is from the question and the embeddings that we have in the vector store. And the reason that this is especially useful is that if you use ChatGPT, these models tend to hallucinate. And what that essentially means is that they will just sometimes just say random stuff that's not even in your lecture notes, and that's going to be a problem. And that effectively helps to solve that problem. And I use Streamlit to actually just host this. The results are as follows. Most of the students did find the information given by the AI chatbot relevant and clear, and 90% found it to be useful or very useful, which was obviously great to see because I had made it. But I think the most significant thing about this research is what the purpose and the reason that I'm so passionate about education and the research in general is that my goal is to get people curious again, get students from a very young age who are sort of growing up in the AI age curious again. Because when I was growing up, I would always be pestered about, well, why do you want to know this? This is not in the syllabus. Nobody's going to ask this in the exam. And that would be something that would be especially annoying for me because my peers would be annoyed at me. The teachers would look at me with disapproving glances. But my point would always be that I don't really care what's going to be on the exam. I'm more passionate about what I'm inherently curious about, and I want to learn more about it. And this was difficult as a kid because what ended up happening was I just became extremely introverted. I would have all of these questions in my head, but I would never ask them. And it took me a long time to actually get over that and be able to ask these questions again. And the beautiful thing that happens when you start asking the questions that you really want to ask is that you're able to go up Bloom's taxonomy. As most kids, we never really ask questions, right? And especially in India, where I grew up, you'd normally be hush and not say much. But that keeps you at the lower level of thinking skills, wherein you're just remembering, essentially, where you're just trying to remember whatever the teacher taught you, or you try and understand it, or at best, you just apply it on an exam. But the problem is you never really use it in any of your real-world applications. And that is where value creation can really happen. If you're really curious, you can then analyze everything that you studied. You can evaluate, and at the end, if you're actually able to come to level 6, I think that is where the real magic happens. You can create something from a place where there was nothing there. And that is the main purpose that I want to leave you with about being curious and actually using AI to just climb up Bloom's taxonomy and create real-world impact. You can try it out for yourself. Thank you for your time. I'm Arav Behl signing off.